Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live podcast on the Football Tribe UG channel. It's always a pleasure to be back. It's always good to be back with you guys and speak all matters of football. So, tonight we'll be speaking the FIFA Club World Cup. Real Madrid are in action against Al-Hilal. Mkyhallo Mudryk is being charged by the FA, as well as the Premier League fixtures that did, come out today. So we're going to be talking about that and much more in tonight's broadcast. So please join me on this journey. We'll be following the updates from the second half between Real Madrid and Al-Hilal. That game is into halftime with either side. Apologies on that. Was having her audience tested. Didn't know it was going to be that loud. But anyways, like I was saying, they did go into halftime with a goal each. So it's a 1-1 draw at halftime for the two sides. And yeah, we'll be following the updates from the second half, slowly by slowly, as we also grow into the conversation for that for Mkyhallo Mudryk, around transfers, Premier League fixtures, and things of that nature. But thank you so much for the people that have been watching our content. Thank you so much those that have checked out our our shorts section. Today we did put out a good number of shorts, about 5 of them, but yeah, the numbers do show that you've been watching them. You can see one has 700 views, another 76, another about 400, 42, the other about 200, and the other above nearly 300. So thank you so much for sparing the time to check out our shorts section as well. I hope you go and also check out the video section as well, because there's plenty for you to catch up on there in regards to Arsenal, in regards to Manchester United, in regards to our thoughts on Liverpool, although we'll be looking to speak more about Liverpool in the coming days, in regards to how we do think their summer would look like going into the new season. Okay. Apologies. I need to adjust something that I had not foreseen for our broadcast tonight. So that's a bit unfortunate. But I hope you guys had a wonderful day. So allow me get this out of the way. Waiting for majority of you to join the broadcast, and do let us know where you're joining us from. Of course, the second half, like I said, is underway between Real Madrid and Al-Hilal. Of course, the scoreline is still 1 apiece. Real Madrid just hit the inside of the framework. I think it was Rodrigo with the attempt. Vinicius Jr. with a very, very powerful cross. Oh, how did he save that? This Moroccan goalkeeper is quite incredible. So, guys, please like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here, and help us grow and help support what we do. Thank you so much, Team India. Thank you so much to all our usual suspects. I may not be able to name all of you, but I do really, really appreciate you. Zero Recream, Peter Parker. I can see Anna Clara says hi. Safa Ali, good evening to you, my brother from Turkey. Always a pleasure to have you on these broadcasts. So yeah, really, really like it when you do join us. And all the other usual suspects, really, I do appreciate you. Ahmad Septa from Indonesia, Paul Chigozi, Gregory, Mwami Enoch, and all the others that join us every single day on our respective broadcasts. I do not take your love and support for granted. I can see Anna Clara. Hi, Anna Clara. Where are you joining us from? Please let us know down in the comment section. But like I was saying, I was giving a vote of thanks to all of you that managed to check out, that go on the channel and check out our videos, our shorts. Today we put out as many as 5 shorts. So I do thank you all that go and watch those shorts, that do go and watch our videos. Your love and support is really, really highly appreciated. So thank you so much for always sparing the time. So of course, the Premier League fixtures are out. Mkyhallo Mudryk is being charged by the FA. We'll get into the depth of that in just a bit. But Real Madrid here, that game is still in a 1-1 draw. We are into the 49th minute of the game, and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed in as far as the scoreline is concerned. But I can see Real Madrid are really, really probing, are trying to find that to restore that lead. They did score through Gonzalo Garcia in the first half before Ruben Neves, the former Wolverhampton Wanderers midfielder and Portuguese international, I think about 28 years of age, or 29, thereabout, converted from the spot kick to get the better of Thibaut Courtois in goal to restore parity. In terms of the lineups, I can see the Moroccan goalkeeper Bono, very does have very deficient hands already. Al-Hilal, they do have some notable figures, although some are unknown to me personally. But Kalidou Koulibaly, João Cancelo, Renan Lodi, formerly at Atletico de Madrid, some of those key names. Ruben Neves, Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, formerly at Lazio in the Italian Serie A. Malcolm, you all do remember him, was signed to Barcelona. Things didn't work out. I think he was at AC Roma at some point and eventually ended up in the Saudi Pro League. Of course, Marcos Leonardo is leading the lines there, but Salim Al-Dasari alongside Nasser Al-Dasari are some of the others that do make the composition for Simone Inzaghi's team. Of course, at halftime, they did make some changes. Xabi Alonso did make some changes. Adagula coming in for Raul Asensio. I think what that essentially means is probably that they switch to a back 3, because Adagula is a forward, unless they are pushing Fede Valverde to play in that centre back role, or Aurelio Tchouameni, and then Fede Valverde pushes into the deep 6, and then you have Adagula. And then, sorry, you have Jude Bellingham playing alongside Fede Valverde, and then Adagula ahead of them in that sort of triangular midfield. So, because Real Madrid start with Thibaut Courtois, they did start with Alexander Trent-Arnold, Raul Asensio, Dinhausen, as well as, sorry, just a bit. Yes, Dinhausen, Fran Garcia. This one, I think, was the culprit in the penalty. Then Valverde, Aurelio Tchouameni, and Jude Bellingham in that midfield of 3. And then they did have Rodrigo, Gonzalo Garcia, and Vinicius Jr. Kylian Mbappe is absent in the squad through injury. Apparently, he's injured. So, but some of the notable figures on that Real Madrid bench, of course, is Lucas Vazquez. Excuse me. Of course, the usual suspect in Luka Modric, among a few other faces, Andre Lunin, etc. Dani Ceballos, Brahim Diaz. I did not see Dani Carvajal. I hope I'm wrong about this. I hope it's my eyes that are not reading well enough, but I don't seem to see Dani Carvajal on the squad sheet. But yeah, the game is still one apiece between the two sides. If guys, if I air out something, we're into the 53rd minute of the game. But if I do mention something that you have already watched on your side, please do acknowledge, or please do understand and bear with me that I have a bit of a time lag in my stream on this side due to low bandwidth. But nonetheless, we'll move with that. But otherwise, thank you so much for always joining us. Of course, today we did have two broadcasts already. We did have one in the morning and one around lunchtime. And the one at lunchtime purposely was discussing about the Premier League fixtures that had been released at about 9 a.m. That's UK time, BTS, British Summer Time. So we did discuss our fixtures. Of course, really, really a tough start for teams like Arsenal, for teams like Burnley. It's going to be really, really a tough start for teams like Man United. When you look at some of the things that ought to be done, really, really, you can't help it notice that it's going to be a tough start for Arsenal, because in there they do have Man United on the opening day. They do have Man City within the first opening 6 games. They do have Liverpool in there. I think they do have Leeds as one of the sort of lesser sides. But yeah, it's going to be a bit of a difficult start for Arsenal. But we're going to be discussing that later in the aftermath of this game. For now, we will follow the updates from the game straight from the stadium. There's been notably very low attendance in some games, but that's to be expected because when teams like Mamelodi Sundowns and are playing against Uslan, obviously you do not expect so many fans. Reason being, these are not teams that are really, really known to many. In terms of global football brands, they're not really up there with the likes of Real Madrid, with the likes of Chelsea, with the likes of Man City, perhaps, because even Man City themselves do struggle to command the numbers that they would have loved to command on both back at home and even away from home. So that's why you will continue to see that in some games or in many games during the course of the group stages, attendance is going to be really, really low. I'm sort of a bit surprised that the stadium is not full for this Real Madrid game, but I think that is largely also due to the opponent that they are playing. In Al-Hilal, not many people follow the Saudi Pro League, if I'm being honest. Between you and I, you do know that maybe once in a while you'll catch on glimpse of the league itself. You'll follow up on news with the big name players, the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, the likes of Sadio Mane, Riyad Mahrez, maybe the big name coaches, George Jesus, who left Al-Hilal before Simone Inzaghi came in, Stefano Pioli, who is leaving, I think, Al Nassr to join Fiorentina, and things of that nature, really. So we do catch it in glimpse as opposed to the other European, big leagues. So that's why you do expect that sort of attendance in the stadiums is going to be a bit low in as far as this tournament is to go. But like I did mention, the tournament will continue to grow as games go on, especially after the group stages. I do expect fortunes to change much better. I have been reading some reports. I do not know to what extent they are concrete, but there are reports that FIFA may look to expand the tournament in 2029 from 32 teams to 48 teams, just like they did change for the FIFA World Cup. And then, of course, there's apparently a consideration that FIFA do continue with USA as the host nation for the second time running of the FIFA Club World Cup. That's coming 2019. So, sorry, not 2019, but 2029. But let's wait and see if those allegations do hold any water to them, or if they do have anything. If they do hold any water to them, indeed. But let's wait and see. Let's wait and see really in regards to those reports. Then, but I mean, that's the competition in itself. Bayern Munich have been the highest goal scorers so far in the competition when they put 10 past Auckland City. Okay, to be expected. Man City earlier on did beat up against Wydad Casablanca. I thought Wydad really had a very good game. They were unlucky with their chances. They did not capitalize. They were not clinical with some of the chances they created, but they did create some big moments in that game. Of course, Man City did finish the game with the manless following a red card dished out to a substitute in Rico Reus. Then it was Phil Foden that found the back of the net, I think, in the second minute. Of course, the goalkeeper there, the Wydad Casablanca goalkeeper, being suspect because he did parry the ball in the path of Phil Foden to slot it into the back of the net, and he scored. And then the other goal was scored by a very industrious Jeremy Doku, who was quite busy on the day. I thought Man City had an interesting lineup. They went with a single pivot of Tijan Riendas, and then ahead of him, of course, they did play with Omar Mamush at the tip of the attacking line, but they had Ryan Cheki in there, they had Phil Foden, they had Savinho, then who else was on the other flank? I struggle to remember who else was on the other flank. Apologies on that. So, but anyway, in any case, it was really a strong team. In terms of the backline, and not that there were any big surprises, but it was Ederson Morales in goal for Manchester City. Nothing major is going on in this game, really. There haven't been big chances, although Rodrigo is trying to penetrate through it, but he continues to struggle. He's one of those that have been given the nod to start in Xabi Alonso's first, starting 11, and I can see the way he's trying to command his team when it comes to fighting for the ball back, and they really sort of crowd the opponent with the ball. That's what they are doing. Yes. In Man City had Rico Reus, they had Victor Reis, they had Nathan Ake and Nick O'Reilly. Apologies, Rico Reus was not a substitute. He did start the game, but it was actually Matthias Nunes that did come on after the other was sent off. I think they withdrew Savinho at the time. And then Jan Reinders in that midfield. Then, Jeremy Doku was the one on the other side. So you can see Savinho, Ryan Cheki, Phil Foden, Jeremy Doku. Now, two of those, he played with 2 10s, and then an Omar Mamush ahead of them. But Erling Haaland came off the bench in that one. Vinicius Junior coming short. By the way, Vinicius Junior was given a yellow card in the first half for a dive. And I thought it was quite stupid of him, really, because we are in a tournament where the referee is officiating the game with a webcam, or I don't know if they will call it an ear cam, but you see the way his mouthpiece is attached to his ear. That's where they've sort of attached the small camera that gives us a webcam kind of view of the referee in regards to where he is standing and in versus where a particular foul may have been committed or a particular key incident in the game, key moment in the game. Now, what happened for the red card for Rico Ruiz is that he went in for a tackle, and in there he sort of kind of slid a bit, but he cleared the ball, and then the fall through hit the opponent player in the face. His boot hit the opponent's player in the face, and he gave a red card. I remember listening into the commentators, and they didn't think it warranted a red card, given that he had cleanly won the ball, but then it was the follow through that also was a bit circumstantial, that the slip sort of maybe accelerated his momentum into going through, following through to hit the other opponent player and that kind of thing. But either way, it was a red card. It stood even after the VAR review. Wydad Casablanca, I thought they tried to set up really well with the 5-4-1 kind of system. Although, it still fell short. I thought on a larger scale, they defended well. When they want a goal down, they really fought to try and get themselves way back into the game. Although, again, they were unsuccessful, but that was not due to a lack of chances, but for the mere fact that they weren't clinical. I do remember a player that tried to loop Ederson Morales, although the shot I think lacked the power to beat Ederson Morales for pace, but it was well on target. So a very entertaining fixture between Manchester City and Wydad Casablanca, or Wydad AC, as some often do refer to it. So those are that's the other key fixture. But it's 59 minutes into this. It's 63 minutes into this particular fixture, and the game is still one apiece between Real Madrid and Al-Hilal. Although Vinicius Junior is trying to find a way here, but Al-Hilal have really done well to defend. I thought Kalidou Koulibaly has been quite impressive in that backline. The way he's commanded his fellows, I thought he's been good. Then in that midfield, Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, Ruben Neves is one of the notable figures that I've come to appreciate in regards to his efforts in as far as this game is concerned. I can see, yes, I think I was right. You can see Tchouameni was pushed into the back. And then Jude Bellingham is playing alongside Fede Valverde in there, following that substitution of withdrawing Raul Asensio, and then bringing in Adagula. So then Adagula plays ahead of the double pivot, sort of, in that revolving number 10 of a bit. And then you have Vinicius Junior on the wing, on one wing, and then Rodrigo on the other, with Goncalo Garcia leading the lines for Real Madrid. So I can see Al-Hilal are making some changes, withdrawing João Cancelo. Remember, Al-Hilal are now under the charges of former Inter Milan manager Simone Inzaghi, who did join them just a couple of weeks back in the aftermath of that horrible defeat at the hands of PSG in the finals of the UEFA Champions League. So he is in charge of this Al-Hilal side, which I think they have so far looked good. Of course, you would argue that Real Madrid have not fielded their best team, pound for pound, but it is the team that they have. When you do have Vinicius Junior on the turf, Jude Bellingham, Tchouameni, Valverde, Rodrigo, Trent, Dinhausen, who you just signed for £50 million, Thibaut Courtois. I mean, that's as good as it comes. Of course, maybe the critical mass of the miss is Kylian Mbappe, because we know what he offers the team in terms of pace, in terms of being that main goal threat in front of goal. So he's really good in those areas, and I do think they miss that. I can see. Oh, sorry, I had missed majority of your comments. But what's going on, buddy? That's Peter Parker. I'm feeling very. I'm feeling very boring while watching FIFA Club World Cup. Luka Modric is now AC Milan. That's true. That's true, Peter Parker. But thank you for joining us. Apologies, I did miss your comments. I do not know why on my phone they are not showing. I do not know why they are not scrolling through as they usually do. I think I now have to rely on a secondary screen to try and read them. But I can see you saying Peter Parker said hi once again, and then Pressing Kosi, good evening, brother. I do not know. I did not know you're a Ghana. It's crazy how Madrid is not dominating the possession. Saudi League is growing. Yeah, Saudi League is growing, if we're being honest. If this game is anything to go by or to judge it by, indeed, the Saudi League is growing. In regards to Peter Parker saying he's feeling bored watching the FIFA Club World Cup, let's be honest. Some games we're not going to enjoy them as others. For example, if you're watching Real Madrid against Al-Hilal, you're not sort of going to get the same feeling watching Mamelodi Sundowns against Yuslan from South Korea. I mean, I for one didn't know Yuslan until they called Yuslan Hyundai, until they actually played against Mamelodi Sundowns. And maybe I get to know Mamelodi Sundowns by the virtue of the fact that I'm a citizen of the African continent. And that sort of puts me in a position of knowing Mamelodi Sundowns. And so many people, maybe in the USA, where the tournament is being hosted, people from maybe across the divide may not be knowing this, this team. Adagula here missing an opportunity. That was close. Really. Like I said, if I mention something that you've already watched, please bear with me. it's due to my low bandwidth. I sort of have a lag in my feed. So please do bear with that. Then Pressing Kosi emphasized that it's crazy how Madrid is not dominating the game. Yeah, they've not really been dominant. It's not like it's not been total domination. Maybe not even the way we saw PSG dominate Atletico de Madrid the other day when we were beating them by 4-0 in that fixture. So really, it's not been that, and that speaks, I think, to the level of investment that the Saudi Pro League have really put in. Like we've spoken, they've really been going for top managers. When you talk about managers like George Jesus, who has been at Al-Hilal, when you talk about managers like Stefano Pioli, who in 2022 was winning the Scudetto with AC Milan, when you talk about Simone Inzaghi, who in 2024 was winning the Scudetto with Inter Milan, and in 2023 and 2025 was playing with Inter Milan at the finals of the UEFA Champions League. Clearly, that's quality investment in regards to managers. When you look at these players, Kalidou Koulibaly, an AFCON championship, an AFCON champion. I think they did win it. Was it 2021 with Senegal? I stand to be corrected on the actual year in that respect, but I mean, it clearly tells you sort of the level of investment in these clubs, in the players, in the managers, in as far as assembling their squads is concerned. So that clearly communicates that. Yes, they won the tournament in 2021, and I think they beat Egypt at the finals in a penalty shootout that was predominantly known as the sort of COVID tournament. It was actually played in 2022. And then Cameroon had won, I think, the previous edition in 2019, which I think they had hosted, and things of that nature. Then, for those of you that are wondering, we do have water breaks in these fixtures because of the kind of weather that we are dealing with. It's summer. It's nearly, it's over 30 degrees out there for these players. Remember, they're not really accustomed to playing in such environments. Although I thought actually one of the advantages that Al-Hilal had coming into this game is that they're used to playing in these kinds of environments that are a bit hot, environments that are a bit harsh, of these kinds of weather conditions, as opposed to Real Madrid. And every time they've gone out for the water break, you can see players pouring water on themselves, in their heads, on their bodies. Others do even pour it on the legs to sort of flow down into the shoes. Others in their pants, they open their shirts and pour that bit of water. They get that sort of white cool towel to wrap around their necks. That's for the Real Madrid players. But for these Al-Hilal players, they just take a bottle of water, period, and they play on because they're sort of used to these kinds of situations. And then when you look at the manager on the touchline, in Simone Inzaghi, you can see that he's really sweating it out there. Not that he's not always been sweating, because he's that kind of I do not want to say theatrical, but active manager on the touchline. He's always up and down. So, but the weather sort of contributes to that, in sharp contrast to maybe a manager like Luis Enrique, because I think he only stood up once during their game, maybe twice, and that was during water breaks or thereabout. During their win against PSG, he was really relaxed out there. Sorry, against Atletico Madrid, he was really relaxed out there. And yet this time, on the other side of the aisle, you do have Xabi Alonso, who is managing Real Madrid through his first game as head coach, since joining them from Bayer Leverkusen, and he's sort of been trying to keep his players on their toes in regards to how they press on the ball, in regards to how they make a pass, and a few other details already. But Al-Hilal here have just missed a chance, an opportunity to possibly go ahead in this game. Bless that opportunity way wide of the mark. But yeah, keep your comments coming, keep your questions coming. in as far as the competition is concerned. We are, I think, what, 73 minutes in. Excuse me. Yes, we're about 73 minutes in, and yeah, it's still 1-1. It's still 1-1. But let's wait and see how everything does go down between these two sides. Okuyo says, what is your say? EPL bringing all the fun that early. Now, okay, I thought we'd get to speak about this a little later, but let me, from what I do gather, oh, okay, missed opportunity by Valverde. I think for a player that we do know, he knows how to spank that ball or to really, really hammer that ball. He really took that opportunity quite rightly. But in regards to the Premier League now, so many big fixtures are going to be within the opening 6 to 10 weeks of the Premier League. And a lot of people, including myself, are really, really surprised as to why that is the case. But there are some reports that do suggest that Premier League's viewership numbers had fallen. Not so much fallen, like taking a nosedive, but they had sort of declined. Now, I think it is best, in part, based on that assessment, that they thought they should bring some games, big games, very early on to the season and have that spike back in terms of viewership, bringing the big games that, you know, bring you the numbers, the entertainments are really that get people on their toes and things of that nature. Bring them early and sort of get people sort of engaged as soon as possible. There's a lot of football fans that do miss the opening fixtures of the Premier League or even the other leagues. You're like, the league has just started. Really, it's not going to be that serious. Yes, you do expect some teams to get beat. You may expect some surprise results here and there, but you have a certain level of expectation of how games are going to look like. Teams just from preseason, of course, while they've played some preseason games, it's not going to feel like a match that is in the middle of the season or a match day 10 kind of game or a game in the final stages of the season. So some people are sort of maybe complacent or reluctant to even watch the opening weekends. So now when they bring in these big games in the opening weekend, then you definitely got to look out for those games, because if you have Manchester United playing up against Arsenal in the opening weekend, then definitely that's a game to really, really look forward to. It's almost a must watch for anybody that, you know, enjoys the Premier League. Even when you may not be an Arsenal, Manchester United fan, it's one of those games that you pay to watch. Then in about, I think on match day 3, you already have the Manchester Derby, another big game for you to watch. Still around that time, you do have Arsenal making the trip to Liverpool. So it sort of speaks to that they are trying to grab your attention for the long haul. Again, in the opening 6 fixtures, you have the Merseyside Derby between Liverpool and Everton. There's that. On the opening weekend, you have a big game like Aston Villa versus Newcastle. Last season, I think Newcastle beat Aston Villa by 3-0, while Aston Villa beats Newcastle by 4-1. Everyone beating the other when they hosted them. So, I mean, when you have those kinds of games, really, it's sort of, they're really, really eye-catching. They're really, really eye-catching, and you sort of do not want to miss out on them. So, again, let's take the example. We've taken the example, for example, of Arsenal. Like I said, in the opening 3 fixtures, they have to play Manchester United and Liverpool, you know? So that's key. And then in the opening 6 fixtures, they also have to play Man City and Newcastle. Those are big games. So, I mean, that's already going to engage you. That's already going to sort of keep you entertained and glued to your screens. But apparently, the justification is partly when it comes to numbers, that some of the numbers were starting to fall in terms of viewership for the Premier League. But we'll get to know more as time goes on. Pressing Costi said, what are your thoughts? Man City versus Casablanca, a great performance by Tilochi, a performance 7.6, then Phil Foden 8.6. yeah, I think I've spoken about that game. I hope you were tuned in at the time, pressing Kosi. But I thought it was an impressive game. Again, Man City, yes, they came out as the better side, but I thought it was due to lack of being clinical for Wydad Casablanca that really cost them in that game. I thought they did deserve to get maybe a result. They would have deserved to get a result in that game, maybe a draw. Then, and if not a draw, at least a goal. But I thought they lacked that clinical touch in the final third. Of course, they did play with the lone striker, and in sometimes you could feel it that their numbers, the follow-up numbers, whenever they had that goal-scoring opportunity, that the follow-up numbers came a little late in some of the chances that fell to them. So for me, that was part of what I did observe in that particular fixture. But overall, I think Pep Guardiola, I mean, it was a little bit weird for me to watch Pep Guardiola alongside Pep Linders there on the touchline, because Pep Linders, formerly a former assistant to Jurgen Klopp, is now Pep Guardiola's assistant alongside Cole Toure. I'm used to watching Cole Toure's face on the touchline because I mean, he was there with Brandon Rodgers at Celtic, was with Brandon Rodgers at Leicester City before he made the switch to Wigan, where he was, I think, fired up 9 games in charge or less, and then he returned to Manchester City. But his face is not really so strange within the ranks of Manchester City. I mean, he's been an assistant at the under 18 at Man City, but now he's elevated to the first team. You know, Pep Guardiola likes that, making a tweak here and there in his coaching staff. Are Liverpool considering Victor Osimhen? I'm going to respond to that, but allow me, Pressing Kosi, respond to your earlier submission where you said, I didn't know you were Ghana. Yes, I'm a Ghana, but usually, and I'll tell you this. Yes, I do support Arsenal. I do support Real Madrid, but more importantly, I'll emphasize this: I'm a football fan. I'm a football fan, and that's why I do. If I'm judging myself, that's why I do feel I'm objective enough when I'm assessing other teams, so that I'm not seen always in the lens of being an Arsenal fan, and that's why oftentimes I'm reluctant coming before this camera, putting on an Arsenal jersey, because I do not want people to see the jersey and feel biased and have that prejudice that I'm going to be biased about their teams. Quite not the case, and maybe I do welcome the feedback from you guys to let me know if I'm being biased in some of my debates or in some of my submissions in regards to other teams other than Arsenal, or even if it's Arsenal itself. So do let me know if you sort of feel that in my deliveries. But I would like to believe that I'm often always objective. Just once in a while, maybe my Arsenal bias will come out. It will show. But overall, I try to look at things objectively, regardless of where they're happening. You say, okay, Liverpool considering Victor Osimhen. Yes, those reports did surface in the earlier one this week that Liverpool had added Victor Osimhen to their shortlist among suitable, candidates for a striker. We all know that on top of their list is Alexander Isak, and followed by Hugo Ekitike. Benjamin Sesko has been mentioned in the same breath. I do not know to what extent, but at least that name has been mentioned around the Anfield circles. And then this week, at the start of this week, we did hear rumors of Victor Osimhen. And I did speak about that, and my justification for it as to why I do not want to disregard those rumors is one: Victor Osimhen is a very good player. He scored 37 goals in 41 appearances last season for Galatasaray. 26 of those goals coming in 29 league appearances, where he also provided 5 assists. So his numbers do speak for themselves. That he's quite a very good player. But then beyond that also is sort of the amount of quality that is available for big teams to sort of look at in terms of strikers. When you look at their options, they're quite limited, to be honest. And they are fighting for the same strikers with the Saudi Pro League clubs because of insufficiency. And I do not want to blame it on academies or whoever is responsible for producing strikers, But also, I think the larger context of it lies with how football has shifted, because traditionally we are used, for example, to the 4-4-2 system that teams always played with two strikers, one playing as a 10 and the other playing as the main target man. And football, because football has shifted away from that and evolved, and we got to show people like Roberto Firmino playing the striking role, even though we know they are not naturally strikers. That sort of hybrid of a striker where you play a 10 or even a very good 8 in that role of a striker. Because football has evolved in that nature is why I do think that maybe we are seeing lesser production of strikers. So really, I mean, because we can't speak about all the names of strikers, at least the top strikers that all these teams are vying for. And ahead of those is, for example, Victor Gyökeres, Victor Osimhen, yes, Victor Osimhen, Hugo Ekitike, Benjamin Sesko, who else? One other top striker. I mean, now some of those that are available that you would think about, their teams are not even willing to sell. Alexander Isak, Braut Erling Haaland, Kylian Mbappe. So when you look at strikers like Braut Erling Haaland, Kylian Mbappe, and Alexander Isak, all their respective teams do not want to sell. Never mind that Kylian Mbappe is not going to consider move away from Real Madrid after just 1 year. And then Dusan Vlahovic, literally nobody is talking about him, although recent reports have linked him with a potential move to AC Milan, and things of that nature, really. So when you look at the overall market for strikers, I know Italian teams are considering signing Rasmus Højlund, and Napoli is one of those, as well as Inter Milan. But Napoli are first in line pushing for Darwin Núñez, who is among the cohort of strikers. Joan Felipe Mateta has been linked with a potential move to Manchester United. I mean, that tells you the sort of scarcity around strikers, especially in the top Premier League, in the top European leagues, there, whichever way you may rank them. No, you're not biased. You're a human. Two, you're an Arsenal fan. So what? I'm a big Liverpool fan. Yeah, that's for sure. I thank you, Pressing Kosi, on that one. So for me, that's my overall assessment. When it comes to the striking market or the strikers market, really, it's because there are very, very few options for all the teams that really want to sign a striker. And in any case, some teams want to have more than one striker. United already have two in Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund, but they are in the market already searching for another. They want to have a third, literally. Maybe buying that striker could cause them to move on one of those, but it remains to be seen. Look at Chelsea. Now, I do understand Chelsea sign whoever is available, but they just signed Liam Delap from Ipswich Town for £30 million, but they are still in the market and they want to sign Hugo Ekitike. While they want to sign Hugo Ekitike, they still also have they also want to sign Emmanuel Emega from Strasbourg. I mean, those are all strikers that they are targeting. So in any case, there's a video on our channel at the moment. It's called, I think the title is Why I Think Arsenal Need to Sign Two Strikers, because I think signing one would be inefficient for them. So if Arsenal were to go out there in the transfer window and sign two strikers, one of the considerations, by the way, in that conversation, being Oli Watkins, also gives you a different angle. If Juventus do let go of Dusan Vlahovic, they need a striker, and one of their considerations is Victor Gyökeres and the other Victor Osimhen. Galatasaray want a striker, they are looking at Victor Osimhen. Al-Hilal, we're looking at Victor Osimhen. So the strikers on the market are so few. In other words, demand is exceeding supply, and it's sort of being a bit tricky. So when you hear most of these teams being linked with a potential move to any striker whatsoever, do not be quick to dismiss that rumor. It's largely because of that bit of scarcity or low in supply versus the demand for the strikers on the football scene. Real Madrid and Al-Hilal are respectively yet to find a way through in regards to finding that winning goal. We are into the 80th minute of the game, and I liked it. I've liked it that excuse me, that Jabi Alonso tried to give youngsters a chance. Fran Garcia is one of those that Real Madrid think won't be sufficient in that left back role, and that's why they are looking to bring in what's his name? I'm forgetting. Alvaro Carreras from Benfica, although that deal is yet to be sealed. So yeah, I was looking at that Real Madrid lineup. The players like Gonzalo Garcia, really, who did score the goal for Real Madrid. Youngster, Fran Garcia, Raul Asensio, of course, that one has been there since last season. Another youngster, it took so many injuries for Carlo Ancelotti to literally pull him out of the closet and put him in the team. But let's wait and see. Among the substitutions he did make, Brahim Diaz came on for Rodrigo, Alexander Trent Arnold paved the way for Lucas Vasquez, Adagula came in for Raul Asensio, while Victor Munoz came in for Vinicius Jr., Jude Bellingham paved the way for Luka Modric, while any notable names, Muhammad Kano on the other side, Hamad Al-Yami. I mean, I can't wait to see the squad for maybe Saudi Arabia to see how many players feature on their national team that are playing domestically in the Saudi Pro League, which is really, really growing, by the way. It is really, really growing. We are having a VAR review for a potential penalty here. I think potential penalty, potential red card. One of the two is true, but the referee has been sent to the monitor to see if he ought to give that. He's reviewing the incident. There was contact, a bit of an elbow, but it's not like he saw him coming and then he stuck his arm out. He's basically in motion. I always have big challenges when it comes to some of the red cards or fouls that are called, especially when a player is in motion. Because usually when you're in motion, Ashley Cabrera, hi Ashley Cabrera, you've been gone for a very long while. We did miss you for quite a bit. You've not been here in a very long while, Ashley, but it's always good to have you back, Ashley Cabrera. I do certainly remember your name. So usually when the ball is in motion, a player is trying to pursue that ball, and then, I mean, your arms are bound to be all over the place, really, because they are part of your support structure or support mechanism when you're in motion. So sometimes I feel that decisions that are given players in regards sometimes to elbows, sometimes to handballs, sometimes to maybe, catching the other player's eye, are sometimes a little bit too harsh, really. Because if you're really focused on the flight of the ball and where it could land, and then maybe you're jumping, maybe you're running, it's really hard for you to keep the arms to your body and say you won't spread them. And then as soon as you have that control of the ball, sometimes you spread your arms sort of and create that protective circle around the ball. But it is what it is. The rules are the rules. Those that do interpret them is up to them. Ashley Cabrera, I can see I don't know if I should call it an emoji, but whatever. That smiling face that you typed. Thank you for that. So Real Madrid have been awarded a penalty for that kind of incident where a player did, foul the other with an elbow. We're into the 92nd minute of the game. Let's wait for that penalty. Looks like Fede Valverde, is he the one stepping up against Bono to take it? That's the Moroccan goalkeeper, Bono. Xabi Alonso. I mean, he really, really wants this win. His maybe first win. Oh, Bono saved it. Oh, yeah. Too bad. Bono saved it. Federico Valverde failed to convert from the spot kick. But it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, Bono is that good a goalkeeper? Was it a poor penalty? I do not want to think so. Oftentimes, it's easier for people to say, oh, it was a poor penalty when a goalkeeper saves it. But when it doesn't, then we all make the case of how good the penalty was. Why do we never make the case of how good the goalkeeper was to be alive to the situation and to read the penalty take quite correctly and make the save? Oh, Xabi Alonso there on the touchline, showing his sort of disappointment or in that penalty miss. But it is what it is. It is what it is. In any case, I do not think that Al-Hilal have done anything wrong to lose this game, that they do deserve to lose this game. I do think that they do deserve to walk away with the point that they currently have. But action does continue tomorrow. Action does continue today and tomorrow, depending on what your timeline reads like. But Palmeiras is going to be up against Al-Ahli. That's today, Thursday. It's already midnight for us here. That game will come at 7 p.m. East African time. I think we'll manage to follow that. And then Inter Miami will be up against FC Porto, while the other fixture, that is deep in the night, at Pachua against Salzburg, that's at 1 a.m. Tonight. And then Al Ain will be up against Juventus at 4 a.m. This morning, as leading into Thursday daylight. So those are some of the fixtures that are going to be coming your way. The other news that I wanted us to discuss is Mkyhallo Mudryk. Now, Mkyhallo Mudryk is being charged by the FA for being found in breach of the anti-doping rules. Now, they do not say exactly or explicitly what a substance did he ingest or take that is contrary to the law or that contravenes the law, but he's been really on provisional suspension for the great length of the entirety of last season. Of course, I thought he had started the season well, especially in the Conference League. I thought that competition gave him the much needed confidence, the bit of momentum that he needed to fight his way back into the main core team or starting team of the Chelsea side, or even if being that reliable substitute that you normally call on. I thought the competition was offering him that opportunity, and yet he was away on international duty with the Ukraine national team when he took a test and it came back positive. And ever since then, he's been under investigation. Eventually, he was put on provisional suspension or a provisional ban, and not allowed to train with his teammates. Since then, his shirt number 10 has been taken away and given away to Cole Palmer. That's how difficult it's really been for him. You do remember at the finals of the UEFA Conference League, Madrid missing a late opportunity here to win the game, but of course Bono being alive to the challenge and saving it. So he sort of you remember the UEFA Conference League, he traveled to Poland ahead of the Chelsea team, and Enzo Maresca was saying he was surprised that he got there before anybody else. I mean, he was passionate about the competition because it gave him that chance to really compete. But the FA are officially charging Mkyhallo Mudryk for anti-doping violations and could face up to a 4-year ban. And now that would in itself be quite unfortunate. It will be similar to the case of Paul Pogba. Remember, Paul Pogba in the 2023-2024 was equally season. He was found in breach of the anti-doping rules. He came out to claim his innocence. He came out to claim his innocence. However, he ended up being charged and was banned for 4 years. He did appeal that decision, and which was later reduced to 1.5 years, and is now destined to be back in action. Last I did check, he had a 2-year contract offer from AFC Monaco. He's still only 32 years of age, so he can't really play. AFC Monaco are giving him 2-year contract. If he agrees to every detail of it, he will be a Monaco player alongside Ansu Fati, who they are trying to get from Barcelona on a season-long loan with an obligation to buy for about 12 million euros. So in the same strength, Mkyhallo Mudryk does face up to a 4-year ban should he be found guilty of these charges. So the FA did put out a statement saying, and a part of it reads that we can confirm that Mkyhallo Mudryk has been charged with the anti-doping rule violations alleging the presence and or use of a prohibited substance in terms of regulations 3 and 4 of the FA's anti-doping regulations. As this is an ongoing case, we are not in position to comment further at this time. So that is the statement that the FA put out in the wake of charging Mkyhallo Mudryk for being found in breach of those anti-doping rules or regulations. So let's wait and see. I mean, the player that they signed for about what, 89 million pounds, about 100 million euros offer, they did compete for him with Arsenal. That was in January 2023. The player wanted to go to Arsenal. He thought he was destined for an Arsenal move, but Chelsea came in last minute, managed to convince him, but not really convincing him, but they convinced his club first with better, payment terms in terms of guaranteed fees and in what kind of installments or how soon they will pay off the money, and eventually ended up at Chelsea. And it's saying that it has not worked out would even be kind. I mean, it's going on to prove to be a horrendous move. It's not really worked out for Chelsea. It's not really worked out for the player. And here we are talking about a ban, which, I mean, if it were to be stuck to him to a 4-year ban, even though he's a young player, 4 years is too long, really. It's too long. You see, players miss an entirety of a season through a very long-term injury, and they do not come back the same. We've seen it with players that have suffered with anterior cruciate ligament injuries. And how about then being banned from professional football? Unless you're going to go there and keep playing in Sunday League, but then you do risk getting injured. And if you do get injured, then who is going to take care of your treatment, your medical bills to recover from those injuries when you're playing in Sunday League to sort of stay the course? So it's a bit of unfortunate for Mkyhallo Mudryk, but it is what it is. The FA are going to go ahead and charge him. Then in the other news, Lewis Kelly is close to signing a new long-term contract at Arsenal amidst a strong interest from Real Madrid, who did inquire about his availability and situation with Arsenal. They were monitoring the situation because his current contract has only a year left to it. Meanwhile, the game between Real Madrid and Al-Hilal has already finished in a 1-1 draw. A very, very beautiful game of football there that we did witness between the two sides. I mean, it's been that kind of game. It's been a 50-50. I thought both teams competed really, really well. None was able to, in the end, to get the edge over the other, despite Real Madrid winning that penalty. But Bono stood up to the challenge and ensured that his side walk away with the point. So Al-Hilal, forcing Real Madrid in a draw. Yes, I do understand it's their first game that they are playing ever since the season broke off, but I mean, take nothing away from Al-Hilal, because Madrid is always a strong team to face, regardless of when you face them. So that is that as well. Then let's retreat back to those Premier League fixtures that did come out today, because they've left so many shaking their heads. In responding to Okuyo Amelen, I did tell you why they've put so many big fixtures. At least we looked at Arsenal's opening 6 fixtures in regards who they face in the opening 6 weekends. So you have Man United on match day 1, Leeds on match day 2, and that game against Man United is away from home. They do have Liverpool on match day 3. On match day 4, they have Nottingham Forest at home. Then they will play Man City at home before playing Newcastle away from home. So 2 away from home big fixtures in United and Liverpool, 2 big fixtures at home in Nottingham Forest and Man City, and then another trip to St. James's Park. That's in as far as the Premier League that's in as far as Arsenal are concerned for the opening 6 fixtures. But before we move on to other teams, here is what the opening weekend looks like in its entirety. Of course, Liverpool do open the season, and they will give us the curtain raiser for starters. That will be on Sunday. Let me find the exact date really before I gamble through it. I think it will be on Sunday at the 10th. Yes, on Sunday, 10th August, Liverpool and Crystal Palace will be meeting in the FA Community Shield, which is the curtain raiser for the season. That competition played between the Premier League winner and the FA Cup winner. So Liverpool and Crystal Palace will meet, and then Liverpool will open the Premier League season 2025-2026 officially on Friday night when they do entertain FC Bournemouth at Anfield. I'm trying to find those fixtures. Yes, so they do play Bournemouth at Anfield, and then on Saturday, Aston Villa in the early kickoff will be up against Newcastle, another big game. Then Brighton at 5 p.m. Is it? Yes, at 5 p.m. East African time. They'll be up against Fulham. Newcastle will be up against Brentford. Sunderland at home against West Ham. Spurs will entertain Burnley, while Wolves will entertain Manchester City at home. That is on Saturday. And then on Super Sunday, Chelsea will be up against Crystal Palace in a London derby, while Man United will entertain Arsenal. And then on Monday Night Football, Leeds will be up against Everton. So that's for match day 1 of the Premier League. Then, of course, the other teams that we can look at is Manchester United in regards to a look at their opening 5 fixtures. Even Man United do not have it simple or easy for their opening weekend, or sorry, for their opening 6 games. They do have to play Arsenal at home. They have Fulham, they have Burnley, they have Man City and Chelsea, as well as Brentford. That is in the opening 6 games of the season. And after Brentford, they'll play Sunderland and then Liverpool. So really, not the easiest of starts, but having to play Arsenal and Man City and Chelsea in your opening 5 fixtures is no walk in the park. Really, it's no walk in the park. But if you're Man United, you bet on yourself to say we must win up against Fulham, Burnley, and Brentford, and then try to get maybe a draw in some of those results. You do know how to beat up against Manchester City, even when sometimes they look on paper better than you. You do know how to beat up against a Man City side, so you can bet on yourselves Manchester United. So Ryan Cherki's revenge against Manchester United couldn't come any sooner, but let's wait and see if he will be able to correct that, because he did say he did feel very, very bad when Man United beat Lyon in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Europa League last season. For those of you that do remember that game that ended in a 5-4 victory for Man United at Old Trafford, subsequent to a 2-2 draw that they had been involved in France. So he was sort of left unhappy with that. But those are the opening 6 fixtures for Manchester United. Arsenal, Man City in there, Chelsea in there, Burnley in there, as well as Fulham and then Brentford. Then let's see if we can find out for Chelsea, because Chelsea is the other interesting team. I do get the feeling that Man City have it fairly easy. Even Chelsea have it really, really easy from where I'm standing. If any Chelsea fans do disagree, but at least they're not going to be traveling away from London for the first 4 games of the season, because they do play Crystal Palace at home, they play West Ham away from home. These are all London teams. Fulham at home. Fulham is another London team, and Brentford is a London team. Then they will make the trip away to Manchester United and then play Brighton and Hove Albion at home. That's Chelsea's opening 6 fixtures. I mean, Manchester United is the only big team in there, really. when you compare to the others. So I do feel that Chelsea have it a bit easier. Let's look at Liverpool. How do Liverpool look like in regards to their opening 6 fixtures of the new Premier League season? Hi Vanna, you still live, bro? Yes, I'm still. A big up on yourself, Vanna. We did miss you for the last couple of days. You did disappear on me, but it's a pleasure to have you back. I do me the kind honor and press a like on the broadcast. But thank you so much, Vanna. For those of you that do not remember, Vanna is a Chelsea fan. He did join us in one of those late night podcasts, and we had a very fruitful engagement alongside Yukan Tavu. So very, very huge. Sorry, am I correct to call you a Chelsea fan? Vanna, please correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I do seem to remember you as a Chelsea fan. Anyways, we are trying to find those opening fixtures for Liverpool and see how they will fare in the opening at least 5 or 6 games of the season. So here's how they will feature. Sorry, apologies. That took longer than I expected, but where did I put that? Where did I put that? But Liverpool equally. I mean, of course, the opening day they play Bournemouth, and then on match day 2 they play Arsenal. So on match day 3 that's when they play Arsenal. But I think on match day 2, they have Newcastle, and then on match day 3 they have Arsenal. But in there they also have Everton, a Merseyside derby in some of those games that they do have to play in the opening 6 games. Here are some of their opening 6 fixtures. They have Bournemouth, they have Newcastle, they have Arsenal. Newcastle is an away game. Arsenal and Bournemouth at home. Then they will play Burnley away from home. Then they will return home and play Everton in the Merseyside derby. Then they will play Crystal Palace on match day 6. So I do feel that Liverpool have it slightly easier in a start for the Premier League. However, after playing Crystal Palace on match day 6, match day 7 and 8 won't be any simple, because they will make the trip to Chelsea before returning home to play Manchester United. So that's if you extend it to match day 8. But I do think that the fixture list is a bit kind to Liverpool. I was looking at again the opening fixtures for, I think, Burnley. Yes, Burnley, who are under the charges of Scott Parker, and they have quite the tough run of opening fixtures. In their opening, some of their first 6 games, they have to play Tottenham, that's on the opening day. Then they will play Manchester United. Then they will play Liverpool. Then they will play Nottingham Forest. Then they will play Manchester City in their first 6 games. Now, I mean, who does that to another? I mean, if you say who has Newcastle, Liverpool have Newcastle on match day 2, but also Arsenal have Newcastle, I think, on match day 4, around there. Yeah, around there. Is it match day 4 or match day 5? But in the opening 6 fixtures, Arsenal have to play Newcastle, but Newcastle also have Liverpool on match day 2. So now here we are talking about this Burnley side. Now, I mean, I really feel for them. Usually for teams that are just, are coming back or making the return to the Premier League, you want them to get a bit of maybe, I don't want to call them weak fixtures, but at least fairly average fixtures in which they can compete. And if they do win those fixtures, then it helps to build their morale going into the season. But imagine you Burnley, you just returned and you play Tottenham. I mean, they could easily lose all these opening 6 games. You play Tottenham, you play Man United, you play Liverpool, you play Nottingham Forest, you play Man City. I mean, what's that? That's quite horrible. I mean, Scott Parker better pull up his stockings. I'm not saying that they cannot beat up on any of these teams, but I mean, that's quite difficult, a fixture to start with. What the fuck you trying to do? News reporter, bro, Lolo? No. We are looking at the opening fixtures for the respective teams. At least the one, two, three. No, sorry, the opening 5 to 6 fixtures of the Premier League for some of the big teams. So we've looked at Arsenal, we've looked at Liverpool, we've looked at Chelsea, and then we've looked at Man United. So then when you look at Man City, those are some of news reporter, Sky Cave. No. We're not going to turn into Solokov if that's the gentleman that you are meaning. But overall for me, in regards to the opening fixtures, I do think it's really going to be tough for Arsenal. Bearing in mind that you're playing 3 of the teams that finished within the top 5 last season. That's Newcastle, that's Man City, that's Liverpool, the champions. That's really difficult. Then when you look at Man United, you have to play Arsenal, you have to play Liverpool, you have to play Man City in those opening 6 fixtures. So it is what it is, really. But anyways, do let me know what your thoughts are on those fixtures. Bro, change your channel topic. You want me to change it to what? That's just part of the news that we need to have today, anyways. But Vanna, okay, if that's your view. Anyways, moving away from that, quickly, do we get do we go to transfer gossip, or we should look at that in the morning? I think let's do that in the morning, because we've been here for what? We've been here for about an hour. Yes, for about an hour and 11 minutes. I choose one team. Now, don't worry, Vanna. Don't worry, Vanna. But let's look at let's try and look at some of the gossip that is making the rounds or making the headlines in as far as transfers are concerned. Of course, Son Heung-min, I did make the lines because there are 3 Saudi Pro League clubs that are interested in his services from the Saudi Pro League, and that is Al Nassr, Al-Hilal, and which one is the other? There's another team. They're all interested in his services, although apparently Tottenham may be reluctant to do a deal for the 32-year-old South Korean international before or until they complete their Asian tour. They have an Asian tour, and Son Heung-min is one of those very popular figures when it comes to Asian football. You say good luck. I hope you do not ever. You say you can't do everything. I'm not trying to do everything. I do not know if you've been following, but we do speak about the major headlines from the world of football, but predominantly our mainstream topic comes from the Premier League. So that's where our concentration is. But if there is important news to bring for you from the Spanish La Liga, from the Italian Serie A, or German Bundesliga, we will mention it. But our concentration is with the Premier League. If you do not mind, you can spare a minute and go check out the bio, what it says on the channel. But really, that's pretty much it in regards to that. But anyways, as far as the transfer gossip, calendar goes, of which in today's game, in tonight's bullet latest, of course, is Man United, Arsenal again, being involved in the Victor Gyökeres case. Then we do have Fulham rejecting an offer for Rodrigo Muniz. Apparently, Leeds are interested in signing him. Rodrigo Muniz, only 24 years of age. Then Arsenal's left back, we've spoken about him, Miles Lewis Kelly, on the verge of signing a new contract. But then Arsenal losing their assistant head coach in Carlos Cuesta. He's going to join Parma as the manager at Parma. So Mikel Arteta may look to replace him. If you do remember, when they lost Steve Brown, they never replaced him really. They simply promoted Carlos Cuesta, only 29 years of age, because he didn't play much football. Injuries really pushed him out, and then he started out his coaching career at the academies of Juventus and Atletico de Madrid there before Arsenal in 2020 as a part of Mikel Arteta's backroom staff. Then Then Chelsea retain interest in England midfielder Morgan Rogers alongside Arsenal, have also been linked with the 22-year-old England international who was quite electric last season. The Liverpool are prepared, apparently, this is according to Gimme Sport, to smash the British transfer record to sign Alexander Isak from Newcastle. Let's wait and see. We spoke about that deal in the morning and the possibilities of it happening the other day. Then Aston Villa are willing to sell 28-year-old midfielder Emi Buendia if they receive a bid in the excess of 20 million pounds. I do not think there's any team that is going to pay 20 million pounds for Emi Buendia. I mean, his sort of career did stagnate ever since he joined Aston Villa. Of course, part of that is because he suffered so many injuries while there. But Chelsea have made an initial contact with Brighton over Brazilian striker João Pedro, only 23 years. Newcastle also did make contact with Brighton and Hove Albion to try and sign João Pedro. Then Brentford have put a 50 million pound price tag on striker Yohan Bisa. That's the 28-year-old Congolese international. When I say Congolese, I mean Democratic Republic of Congo, not the Republic of Congo. So he's the target for Nottingham Forest, for Tottenham. Apparently, even Arsenal, according to Team Talk, Fenerbahce and Galatasaray. While Nice and Ivory Coast forward Ivan Guessand, 23, is attracting interest from Leeds and Tottenham as well. Then, while Nick Pope, 33, does not want to leave Newcastle, even though Newcastle are interested in signing James Trafford from Burnley. So that is some of the latest in the world of gossip there. But anyways, thank you so much, guys, for those of you that have been with us for tonight's broadcast. Allow me to wrap it here. Thank you so much, Vanna. Thank you so much, Ashley Cabrera. Thank you so much, Pressing Kosi. Thank you, Amlen. Thank you, Peter Parker. And all the others that managed to chip in for tonight's broadcast. Safa Ali, it's always a pleasure to have you. And Anna Clara, thank you so much for having been part of tonight's broadcast. Let's do this again tomorrow. Have yourselves a wonderful night. Bye-bye.